Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the Highlanders versus the Hurricanes. This is where you get your hot takes on what's happened in the game. Don't forget, you can join us at 8 p.m. on Sunday, where we'll go through and review all the Super Rugby games with a bit more of a level kind of a thing. We've got all sorts of hand signals and T's and stuff going in the background there. I've got no idea what Ashwin's trying to say off screen. But evening, Ashwin, how are you doing?
I'm good. I was trying to tell you that you knocked your microphone or something, so your voice had disappeared. But now it's good again.
Really? I'll just check.
Something happened. Anywho. Hi, everybody.
Look, I've switched to the correct microphone now. Yes, it was sorry. Yep, got the wrong microphone, and my book was over the microphone, which is why you couldn't hear me. So hopefully it sounds better now.
No, it's perfect.
Perfecto. Yes, that's because I'm using that one up there now. See, proper microphone. Give all the behind the scenes kind of stuff, folks. Evening, Stephen Harris. How you doing, sir?
Very good, thank you, Paul. Good evening, Ashwin.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
I just woke up from the second half. That's why.
You might have done, but the first half would have kept you awake. Boy, it was played at a frenetic pace in that first half. And look, first up, before we go any further, big congratulations, Aaron Smith, 154 games. Becomes the most capped Highlander ever after overtaking Ben Smith. So well done, sir, on that one. Congratulations. It's a pity you didn't get the results tonight, though. The Joshuani didn't bring his kicking boots, missed one early on, but let's be honest, that isn't what happened in this one. Did they? In that first half, look, we had some good performances out of the Highlanders. Frizzell was very active and all over the place. Aaron Smith, Joshuani made a good break. But Stephen, a bunch of individuals not really playing as a team.
Yeah, I think so. And I've also limited it around their attacks as well. There was a lot of ball carrying. And listen, when you're using that tactics against a team like the Hurricanes, who've got both Karifi and Avia, who are all good, and Princep, who are all good over the ball, you're playing with a little bit of fire there. And I just thought they might have been a little bit creative, gone a little bit wider at times. I actually think tactically they actually defensively played into the Hurricanes' hands.
Yeah, and as Nocturnal Right says, poor technique from the team supporting the ball carrier. Absolutely. The Highlanders, yeah, there's to me, whilst Frizzell was active and was very was very noticeable and do some good stuff. He was as I put on Twitter, he was channeling his inner Sergio Paresi, going, "Who needs teammates? I'm just going to do it all myself," like Sergio used to do for the in the Italian team. The only surprise was Frizzell didn't try a drop goal, really, because he did pretty much everything else.
I think you can sum it up by there was a moment in the game where basically I can't remember which Highlanders players took it, but basically just out from the line. There's no players supporting him whatsoever, and he takes it one off the ruck. And I think the commentators credited Dane Coles for getting over the ball and doing the jackal, but I think it was actually Scott Scrafton that got over the ball. And it was right on the try line, but it was dumb play to go by yourself. He wasn't actually going to the try line. He was just taking the ball forward for another ruck setup, so engaging the defense, but he was going all by himself. He was going directly to ground. There was only one outcome with being surrounded by the Canes.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the fact that the Canes don't have a very balanced back row, but if you're going to go into rucks with no sporting players, they've got the perfect back row for that.
Yeah.
So
actually, I probably, but I've highlighted that. But we're talking about the Highlanders, and they're just taking wrong decision after wrong decision. I think it was in the first minute of the game or 2 minutes of the game. And Mitch Hunt, they've got an opportunity to spread the ball wide, and he kicks the ball, and Geordie takes a gully catch, a simple gully catch, and he flicks it out wide. And a great attacking opportunity, and Mitch Hunt takes a kicking option, which was a low percentage play. Lots of low percentage plays.
True, it did, but that catch by Geordie did get an involuntary noise from me. I went, "Ooh," as he caught it. So yeah,
you always do when you take a gully catch. That's what happens.
So yeah, and also look, after one of the restarts as well, the Highlanders decided to play in their own 22 from side to side, and you kind of like, guys, just clear the bloody ball. Because hey, look, this is a Hurricanes team that didn't start out that well. Let's be honest; they couldn't exit for the first 10 minutes, or the first which led to that penalty with obviously their rookie or inexperienced 9-10 combo. But you've got to say, Geordie took that team by the scruff of its neck and said, right, I'm stepping forward. This is how we're playing, and we're going to play like this, boys. Now, that's not to say it was just the Geordie show, but 30 points to him. And no points to anyone else. The Hurricanes shows you that he was commanding a lot of what was going on there, and he was controlling this team.
Listen, I really enjoyed his not only his on-field performance, but what he was adding to the team. He just seemed to go in and make decisions immediately, and more importantly, take the responsibility as you expect from an All Black or senior players. And yeah, really, really good tonight. And boy, he's got some game. Whether it's the ability to get himself in the right position off obviously Rayasi with a very good offload as well. I also much mentioned Celeste Rayasi. I thought he was very good this evening. Didn't get off to the perfect start. If we recall, there was one shocker of a kick where he kicked it straight up I don't even think it was 20 odd meters, went straight up the paddock, and then he basically ran over the sideline. And I was thinking to myself, well, I hope it's not going to be one of those nights for him, but all credit to him. He did everything correct for the next part portion of the game.
Yeah, and we've talked about the other weekend when was it the Hurricanes versus the Chiefs or one of the other Hurricanes, where we just said the Hurricanes' key players didn't stand up, whereas tonight they did. That was a big difference. I think there's been a rocket up the backside. I think Nocturnal Rights makes point out. Yeah, 7 changes for the Highlanders going to this game, even with the bye week. Now some of that I think injury enforced, but even so. And losing Nariki at the last minute at late notice didn't help. But I don't think you can really blame that. I mean, look, they had Lomax on the yellow card. They got the Chiefs under penalty warnings and things, and just didn't take advantage of it. 70% territory. If you're going to be camped that amount of time in the opposition 22, you've got to come away with points. And okay, going 10-0 down, I think, and Josh Ioane not having his kicking boots didn't help. But yeah, I'm not blaming Josh. He was one of the players who played quite well.
I don't think that was the issue. I think it comes back to what we said right at the top. Is the fact is that it was just poor option taking. Look at that quick tap that Aaron Smith took. They've got a penalty just to the left of the uprights. He takes a quick tap. The defense is actually set for one-on-one defense against what was out there for the Highlanders. It wasn't like the defense wasn't ready. So it was a really poor option by Aaron Smith, who's the most experienced player at 154 games. So I think it's just across the board. I think you mentioned Paul along the good games, but I don't know. It's just like too much individualism for me. Like the likes of Frizzell, Ioane, everybody, they weren't looking to make the gain and then to create something and then to offload. They were basically trying to win the game on their own, and that was the problem. So they'd make a half break or a full break, but they were shut down, and then it was turned over, or nothing went from there.
Yep, we should. We got given because obviously, well, not obviously, but Cornflake doesn't really want to come on when his team has lost this badly. But he did want to. He did give us a submission as part of our Facebook chat group. And so here's what Cornflake thought. Hunt can go to the bin, outplayed by Ione all season. Himeno has to start, and the midfield is garbage, just like every season. There you go. There's your Highlanders post-match poll.
Just have to say, just as a Blues supporter, we front. Doesn't matter whether we win or lose, Steve?
Yeah. You got a front this one.
You got a front, mate.
I know he's hurting, but to actually sit down on the couch and talk about it is a really good thing. It's very therapeutic. It's a very therapeutic thing to do. And believe you me, I got a new couch last year because the last one I had through Blues through 2003 to 2016 had pretty much broke.
Worn out.
So, yeah, every now and again, you've got to get on the couch. You like that, boys?
Oh dear. Yes.
Look, I think just look, when we really, to me, it was really about this game was the Canes played well, no doubt about it. But really, when the Highlanders had the opportunities, particularly in that first half, again, we're talking about the wrong options, poor execution, and nothing sums it up more for me than Frizzell trying to slam dunk a ball over the goal line when you actually have to place it.
Yeah. Should have got at least both. Once you got to the line, both hands cradle it.
Well, even if he couldn't put that second hand on it, he didn't need to slam dunk it on the ground. He just needs to place it on the ground. He's over the line. There's no pressure on him to actually, he's not fighting in the fight to try and force the ball. He just needs to put the ball down. And he basically went and tried to, I'm going to do an exclamation mark, and he lost the ball.
Yeah, he was definitely playing with some emotion tonight. Something has got to be in his bonnet. Now, don't know what it is, but he was definitely, he was playing with a lot more vigor and a lot more emotion. And as you say, he got the better of him in that situation, and a couple of others. Another one, passing the ball between his legs. Had no idea who was behind him. Luckily, it was under advantage, and I hope he heard the advantage bit first. But that got picked off and would have been a try to the Hurricanes. Clearly, the referee decided that he didn't want anyone else but Geordie scoring for the Hurricanes, so he had to call that one back. No, he'd already said advantage, to be fair. Okay, then let's get into it then. Also, was Dane Coles?
What did he do? I missed that. What's brought that up? Comment up from Nocturnal. What did he do? Okay. I missed it.
So we had so leading up to that try.
Which try?
To the Highlanders try. We had that reverse penalty because of the
pushing and shoving handbags.
Yeah. Now the referee said, look, you can't ruffle hair and then push somebody. Now whether it was ruffling or I think ruffling was perhaps a little exaggeration as to what happened, but he did touch the guy's head briefly. And I know we have different opinions here, so we'll go into that in a second. But he reversed one, and then we had the inconsistency of something happening between him, between Coles and somebody else, where they had got a talking to, and then Coles said, "It's emotion. You're removing all the fun from the game." Arnie Surveyor saying, "It's just banter. It's part of it's part of sport." It's like no, that's not part of sport. But Stephen, I'll let you go first on this one. What did you think about the reversed penalty?
Oh, listen, my only danger with that, you could reverse penalties at just about every scrum infraction when there's a whole lot of chahoo going on and there's a bit of push and shove. We obviously saw that last week in the Crusaders game where a penalty reversed, and the old testosterone's going and who's got the proverbial, if you know what I mean. That's the only thing that really concerns me. Is it worth the penalty at the end of the day? Really, unless somebody's gone out and stomped on somebody, no, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth the penalty at all.
I'd like to. I'll take the negative on that, or the opposing moot. I actually liked the penalty. What I do agree with you on is the fact that they need to do it consistently across the board at each time if they're going to do it. Why I like it is because the retaliator is the one that gets penalized. Okay, well, he wouldn't be retaliating if some shit didn't go down. So excuse the French, but that's what it is. If something doesn't go down, he doesn't retaliate. We get that. We have enough breaks in play. That pushing and shoving takes up time as well. Be like touch footy, as I said in our personal rugby chat. Touch footy, you do anything that stops the flow of the game, and it's a penalty, right? You in touch rugby, you put the ball down, you walk away. None of this little nudge the ball away or anything like that. No kicking the ball away, nothing. As soon as you do something like that, it's a penalty. You've marched up the field. Do that consistently, and you will see the players change their attitude. Yeah, there's testosterone. Nobody disagrees with that. Control that testosterone. That's what we're talking about in bloody society as well. Control that testosterone, and learn that you're not going to get away with doing the little ruffle of the hair or touching the guy on the backside where he does, giving a pat on the back. You're going to learn it.
And I think I spotted that when I watched the NFL recently, and the fact that when that whistle goes, everybody just stops. There was one instant where someone pushed someone off the whistle, and it was immediately a 15-yard penalty. Boom.
Yeah,
and it was
ungamesmanlike conduct.
Something like whatever it's called.
Yeah,
but you can't say there's no testosterone and there's no emotion in American football.
And NFL,
that's another full-on contact sport. So yeah, they can stop. It's a learned behavior, and that's all.
Yep.
But it does have to be done consistently, and it does have to be done globally. The American football does it in one league, and it's easy. Whereas we have to, otherwise, it's going to become a problem when it comes to internationals.
But they also need to look. We've talked about this enough, right? As the fact is that if they penalise the hell out of the game, people get pissed off. Who cares? The reality is that the players' behaviour will change. If it doesn't, they get penalised. Now, what Nocturnal said about Dane Coles being a grub, that garbage around jersey pulling, all that needs to be knocked on the head as well, because that's what leads to fights as well, which kills time in the game. So all these things need to be clamped down on. We might have a penalty fest of 30 penalties a game or whatever, but eventually if the players don't learn, the players got to learn, right? Otherwise they're going to get penalised out of the game. Coach isn't going to pick him because he's a liability in the game.
Yep.
But I do still think there's a place for the player that's got to. And I see Isaac has just put up there Coles as the heart of the Canes. I think there is a place in the game for a player who plays on the edge as well, and I don't mind a bit of verbal banter. We used to call it getting in somebody's head, and usually if you do that, the other person retaliates. You get the penalty. I've got no issues with that going on. What I have got an issue with is when a dominant scrum, and then they have to basically stand there and gesticulate about how good their scrum was, and then that usually creates a heck of a lot of unnecessary niggle, and it's just not sporting. It's just not cricket, lads.
It's not cricket.
Verbals and chat, fine.
Yeah, verbal chat's fine. Verbal chat's fine.
Touching players, stop as soon as the whistle goes. No touching.
Yeah, okay, but it's really dumb, And the other thing is that they should have. Surely they saw the game last week where penalties got reversed between the Blues and the Crusaders, right? It actually happened twice, I believe, in that game. Effectively, I think when the Blues got one back, when the Crusaders players ruffled the Blues up, and then obviously with the Eklund roly-poly move on Actor Reese. And it's just like, surely you have a look at that and say, look, let's just if we win the penalty, let's spray and walk away. There's no need to do any sort of manhandling or anything like that. As Steve alludes to, bit of verbal jip if you got a good cracker, let it rip. But, make it a wise crack. Don't make it something lame as well, Make it a wise crack and walk away. There's no need to. You've got the penalty.
Mic is there. We can hear stuff that happens near the referee. So if you're going to say it near the referee, make sure it's funny.
Make sure it's loud enough so we can hear it, so that we can have a crack up and laugh as well.
Look, I mean, some silly things here. We've had a couple of debutants for the Hurricanes. And one of them scored the try, and it's gone blank as to his name. But yes, good to see a young debutant scoring a try, isn't it, boys? With Bryn Evans, who's only 36 or 34.
It's a couple of extremes, isn't it? You've got young Garden Bishop, Connor Garden Bishop. Of course, you think of Thomas Umaga Jensen, obviously scoring or was it? Did he score a try on debut, Thomas Umaga Jensen, or was it Connor Bishop who scored a try on debut?
No, I was talking about the forward who scored the try on debut.
Bryn Evans.
Yeah. Oh, sure, that was on debut, of course.
For the Highlanders.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, look, I mean, I think interesting one with Josh Lord going, hey, look, that would have been my try if he had picked me. But just on another note, it's just like I think that's some of the experience that that Highlanders pack sort of needs. Possibly needed to get involved a bit more to get the right outcomes that they needed out of the position that they had.
Yeah, and then that's absolutely another one was talking about silly mistakes. For Arakulu joining the maul way before it moved anywhere Look, the comms going, oh, it's a very technical penalty, and it's just the way the game's going. What rubbish, okay, guys? It's not an overly technical one. He broke the law. He broke the law, and he quite rightly got blown for it. Everyone knows you're not allowed to. You can't. You got to say
So that was a crazy brain snap type scenario. It's just like he's actually by the second 5, so he's on the right wing normally. So he would have been on the blind side of that maul, line out maul drive. So obviously there's a play on. He's actually next to the second 5, so he takes this extreme tack into the wind to get to the far side, the blind side of the maul to join it as well, with nobody else moving in.
He also joins ahead of the ball carrier as well. I mean, everything he did there was wrong. So never mind. You're a winger, mate.
At Auckland Grammar.
You're a winger. Stay out of these maul things, okay? You're not supposed to on the wing, not with all those other boys.
And if you had a really key time as well, they just looked like they were grabbing a little bit of momentum. I thought that pretty much that was pretty much good night, Nurse. Can I say that?
Yeah. Are we allowed to say anything these days?
Yeah, I know.
If you're a back and you want to join a maul, go study Brumby's videos, and you will see the right time to join a maul as a back.
Now, to be fair, we did have a quick discussion in our rugby chat group that looked, because soon after that there was a long line out thrown over the top. The backs run up and catch it, and look, those guys are always offside. I know it never gets called, but there is no way they have waited until the ball has passed the 15-meter line before running up. So it's a nice. But hey, rugby likes that because it's kind of it's a bit of a flashy move, and so hence they want to keep it in the game. I understand that, so I'm not going to get too upset by it. But funny how the law is applied sometimes, but not other times. And I wonder why.
I was going to say that's the problem. There is a nail, and you've hit the head because the problem is they call it sometimes and they don't call it others, and that's the problem that you have, because occasionally that long ball over the top will actually get called. For somebody from the back line running in saying, "Oh, you're inside the 15" before the ball had passed the 15.
Just on that
10. Sorry, yeah.
Just on that maul penalty, and that obviously when Pickerel picked that up, I think a stat came up that the Hurricanes have not scored. Beg your pardon, the Highlanders have not scored a try from a driving maul this year. Did that sound correct?
Yeah, that actually sounds. I mean, I didn't see that stat, but it sounds correct. And I am actually sort of like, in the first half, and they were taking those the maul options with the penalties, kicking to the corner. I was thinking, geez, that line out drive for the Highlanders just hasn't worked this year, and they keep going back. I mean, last year it was a killer weapon for them. Ash Ditson.
But they remember at the very beginning of the game, they tried to take a scrum, and of course they end up losing the second scrum and lose the ball. So they were kind of like, well, look, our line-out maul's not working, our scrum's not working. Where do we go?
But the problem was, again, one of the things we talk about with a lot of teams, especially when they're playing the Crusaders, for example, lack of patience. And it was weird for the Highlanders because they were actually the dominant side and they lacked patience. Right? So you're talking about those scrums, for example, and you've got scrum after multiple scrums there by the try line, and they're lacking patience to actually control the ball. Everything has to happen at 100 miles an hour, and that's where they were missing the trick.
Look, the Highlanders dominated this one, 67% possession, 70% territory. They did. They also gave up more turnovers, only 10-8. But again, there were turnovers at key times of the game that took away their momentum. So they either turn it. I thought Artie Surveyor got in there. We talked about one earlier when Frizzell got himself isolated, etc. So it was. The Hurricanes made 159 tackles to 74 by the Highlanders, so more than twice as many tackles by the Hurricanes. There was some talk in the chat that might tire the Hurricanes out, but we didn't see that. Look, the Highlanders were all over this game. They just couldn't score.
And Isaac makes a really good point about the Japanese international Kazuki Himeno. I thought he was very good. Good angles. Not real, totally impactful, but still got them at the advantage line. He runs really nice angles.
I'll reserve judgment, Steve, because it was at a time that last 20 is always a bit open, if you know what I mean, and loses a bit of shape and structure, especially when it looked like, hey, look, the Canes have pretty much got it wrapped up. I mean, the Highlanders were going to have to score 3 times, So I think would really have to see him in a tight situation where the defensive structure is going to be a bit more tight, or at the beginning of a game. I mean, he looks like he's got something, but just to know that it is definitely a good player. I think we'll have to reserve judgment to see him, say, from the start of the game when defenses are a lot tighter.
Oh, to be fair, and I was about to say, in that half hour, he probably did more in that half hour than what James Haskell ever did in a season with the whole season.
Sick burn.
Oh, I like it. Anyway, also just some other things about him. Look, there was at one point in the comments that went, "Oh, he's looked for the offload. I think he could have given it there." It's like, no, he's looked for the offload. He's seen a white Hurricanes jersey right behind him, where he's about to offload to, and he's kept hold of it. You're like, no, he's shown composure there to take the right option. Now, so I think, whilst I understand what you're saying, that look, he's not going to get as much time and space, because maybe 9 carries for 51 meters made him the second highest meter carry for carries.
Meter eater
after Josh Ioane. And Josh Ioane had that really long break. So he was the second.
Talking about Himeno.
Himeno had the second most meters carried for the Highlanders.
In 20 minutes.
Good
effort. Somebody buy that man a DB.
Give
that man an export.
It's a Spates down there, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but the ad was give that man an export. Wasn't him.
Yes. Nocturnal Light says, different type of loose forward, true. But even so, he made an impact when he came on. Absolutely. And let's see if he can.
We talked about the Canes sort of balance in that back row, but I don't actually believe that there's too much of an issue with the balance in the back row of the Canes. It's whether their tight forwards can give them a platform, and so that their back row isn't tied up. I mean, we know what Artie can do. We've seen what Karifi can do as well. So, Devon Flanders is, again, a pretty handy blindside flagger. So I don't believe there's an issue in the back row so much as the fact is that they really need that tight forwards to make sure that they've, don't have their back row having to do a lot of their work.
I think having Dane Coles back will definitely add some starch to that tight five and mould them. They definitely need Tyrell Lomax on the field for good 60 minutes because no question he's their best tight head prop. It's probably just getting the balance right. I think with the middle row they had tonight, I think they've looked like they've got more of a balance there with a bigger body in terms of James. Lera Walker. As opposed to having Blackwell there, and I actually thought Scrafton was very good at line out time tonight.
I think Scrafton's been good. I've always thought Scrafton's a good player. I mean, like he's been there for about 3 seasons now down at the Canes, and the fact is that he's not that flashy player, but he just gives them the grunt that's been missing, And so you do notice when he's not there. You notice the lack of grunt that type 5 has. He does actually add a lot. And then you bring in Leah Walker, who got similar sort of grunt, but the big thing is that now you got a ball playing lock as well as the grunt playing lock as well. So, a good sort of combination there for them.
Yeah, Arnie's dummy was poetry in motion. We do love a big Arnie dummy.
Artie's dummy has only worked once. The entire time I've ever seen it, Artie's dummy worked once, and that was against the Blues in that first round in this year's Super Rugby, and it still didn't lead to a try of anywhere. It never got close to creating a gap or anything.
But you know what? It actually stops the defence because
it stops the defence. It's true.
I've never seen him throw a dummy and get hit. So the fact that the defence, what they actually momentarily stopped, they're a bit like possums.
Okay, so effectively what you're saying is that it works. He needs to now take it to the next level to actually get something out of it.
But it works because the whole defense go, "Ah," and then stop playing.
Who's the dummy now?
Hey, come on, bro. You're overdoing that, mate. You're really overdoing it.
Yeah, bro. You're waiting for the players to go, time out. Oh, come on, Artie. Nobody's buying that.
Perry Parkinson, good ball carrying. Not correctly, he went missing in defence a couple of times.
It's just
he's getting back into it though.
But I'll tell you what, he does carry well. Boy, he just seems to, and it looks like he's put on a few kgs, which is good for him. Because I mean to say, let's not forget he's New Zealand Māori international, and you kind of look around at our locking stocks at the minute, and whilst the current regime, rate Tupavai as probably that fourth lock, I reckon Parkinson is there or thereabouts at the minute.
Just got to get that game time, doesn't he? I mean, like before he got injured, and he was having good game, etc. So I think basically build into it, and then if he has got some issues around defence, needs to tidy that up. But I think he gave early on in particular, he gave momentum to the Highlanders. What they didn't do was that when he got that sort of half breaks and again, just poor option taking was probably summed up from those breaks that he was creating.
Yep, and I think to finish us off on this one, then Jordan Clark. The game was only good for one thing: the Blues, and it does definitely open a bit of, or give the opportunity for the Blues to open a bit of a gap there in second place if they win tomorrow, because they're on 5 points. Sorry, they're on 9 points on the table. The Hurricanes and Highlanders now are both on 5 points, 4 points back. If the Blues were to win tomorrow, that would put them on 13 or 14 points, making a pretty good gap there. So,
dude, if the Blues don't win tomorrow, they end up with Greg Norman on a golf course with all these voices in their head.
Oh, dearie me! But look, Stephen's already told me that he's a bit concerned about this Chiefs team. Look, coming off the back of a win, this is so typical Blues losing game.
No, it's not Blues typical. It's just me paying due respect to the opposition. This is what the values of our code were made on, is respecting the opposition.
Exactly.
And then laughing about them when you know. No. In all seriousness, the Blues should bounce back, but you just never know. A win can do magical things for a team.
Yeah, exactly. Win can do magical things for a team, and one thing is that you don't want to get overconfident or arrogant or anything like that, because it'll bite you in the bum. Because the reality is that even the Crusaders, if the Crusaders get too arrogant and they don't turn up, let's see, the Chiefs at the bottom of the table, they'll tip them up. Okay, the Crusaders have turned up all the time, and that's one of the strengths of the Crusaders. So if a Super Rugby doesn't turn up, any team can tip them over on the day.
Now, Paul, I was going to say, Stefan Minton made a really good point at the beginning of the show. He said that Aaron Smith started his career with the Blues, and that's correct. Yeah,
he did.
He did.
Because it doesn't say that on his Wikipedia page.
No, because he started at the Blues development squad, mate.
Oh, okay. He never actually made the top. All right, gotcha.
Yep. Yeah. So look, I mean, I think, in terms of tomorrow's game, it's basically a case of the fact that if the Blues turn up and they play their game, which we know they're capable of, they win that game. They should win it comfortably, but they have to turn up. Now, and the fact is that after watching today's game, there's actually, if you're watching today's game, there's actually daylight between the Blues Crusaders. Yeah, Blues are slightly lower than the Crusaders, but then the rest of it, I think there was an element of today's game which was missed. It wasn't up to the last Sunday's game.
All right. As I try to subtly do it, I'll now do it blatantly. I'm trying to wrap up the show, boys.
Why? We got to go to 9:40 when the next game starts, man. Otherwise, what are we doing? We got to go. Oh, I'm going to fall asleep before the game starts.
Come on, Paul.
I'm trying to wrap it up.
Where's your French, Paul? Where's your French?
Allez les bleus, allez les bleus.
on that one. 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, New Zealand time, France versus Scotland. I'll be watching that one. Very good chance I'll do a impromptu post-match reaction after that one as well. So, folks, do watch that game tomorrow morning with me. I'll be watching that. Tomorrow evening, I will be at the Chiefs versus the Blues, so I will not be able to do a post-match reaction to that one. But go on then. As Cornflake says, amazing you've turned the Highlanders and Canes into the Blues talk. I was trying to stop them, really. I was just trying to say, look, let's wrap things up. It's towards the end of the we're looking forward to this tomorrow. So I will be at the Chiefs versus the Blues. So look out for post-match interviews from that. Hopefully I can persuade one of these guys to do a post-match reaction or live on here. My post-match interviews will come out later. Sky says I'm not allowed to do live interviews post-match and live stream them. So there we go. Thank you very much, Arswin. Have a great evening. Try not to fall asleep in the next game. And thank you very much, Stephen, for joining me. And Aaron says, yeah, he's off to catch some cricket to see a bit of the one-day international between India and England. And obviously, you can join us for Swinging from the Hip on Monday night at 8 p.m. Where we'll have all our cricket news on that one as well. So thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend.